There's a bicycle helmet sitting on a wooden desk in a back office at Legacy Emmanuel. It's not a fancy one, just a standard commuter lid, matte black, except the right side is sheared off. There's a sticker on the back that says, "Support your local roaster." It's partially melted. The police report from May 6th, 2026 says the collision happened at 5:42 p.m. The sun was hitting the wet asphalt on the Burnside Bridge just right. That blinding Portland glare after a spring rain. Caleb was heading east. The driver of the sedan said they never saw him. The witnesses said Caleb didn't even have time to unclip his shoes from the pedals. He was technically gone for over 4 minutes. The EMTs used the word non-responsive. The medical record is 6 pages of flatlines and adrenaline shots. But what Caleb wrote down when he finally got his hands on a notebook doesn't mention the bridge. It doesn't mention the car. He writes about a clearing. He writes about a heat that didn't burn. And he describes a conversation that makes the wreck on the bridge look like the least violent thing that ever happened to him. He remembers the smell of the air first. It didn't smell like the city. It smelled like rain on hot stone. The taste, that's what stays. It was like I'd been sucking on a penny, that sharp, metallic copper hit you get when you've been hit hard enough for your brain to reset. Wait, I'm sorry, my hands are shaking. I keep thinking I'm still on the bridge. I remember the sound of the tires, or maybe it was the brakes. No, it was the sound of the frame snapping. It sounded like a dry branch under a boot. I was looking at the clouds over the West Hills, and then I was looking at the clouds from above. I wasn't on the bike. I wasn't even in my skin. I could see my own shoes. They were still clipped into the pedals. One of them was twitching. I remember thinking, man, those are my favorite vans. It's stupid. Your heart stops and you're worried about your shoes. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. The next thing, it wasn't a transition. It was just a different here. I was standing in a place that looked like Forest Park, but without the rot. You know how the woods here always have that smell of damp needles and things breaking down? This didn't have that. It was, I don't know the word. It was just whole. And then he was there. He wasn't wearing a robe or anything like the stuff you see in the old churches downtown. He was just there. I couldn't look at his face. Not because it was too bright, but because it felt like my eyes weren't built to hold that much information at once. It's like when you try to look directly at the sun and your eyelids they quit on you. He said my name. Caleb. My jaw just dropped. I didn't mean to, but my mouth stayed open. My throat felt like I'd swallowed a handful of dry espresso grounds. He asked me, "Caleb, why do you think it's been such a fight?" I started shaking. I'm shaking now, just talking about it. I've lived in Portland for 12 years. I've had my shop broken into 3 times. I've been through a divorce that felt like a slow-motion car wreck. I've survived things that I just thought I was cursed. I told him that. I said, I think I'm just one of those people who gets the bad batches. I think God just isn't a fan. He didn't laugh. He didn't even move. But I felt this wave of something hit my chest. It made my ribs feel like they were finally expanding. Like I'd been breathing through a straw for 32 years and someone just gave me an oxygen tank. "You weren't cursed," he said. I looked down at my hands in this vision. They were clean, no roasting burns, no scars from the time the cooling tray jammed. "You have a mark on you," he said. "Hell has been trying to take you off the board since the first time you took a breath." I felt my knees they didn't buckle, they just gave up. I sat down in the grass. It felt like real grass. Cool. "Think about the NICU," he said. And then I wasn't in the forest. I was in a room that smelled like bleach and ozone. 1994, St. Vincent's. I saw this tiny, shriveled-looking thing in a plastic box. It was me. Tubes everywhere. I was 2 months early. My lungs were like wet paper. But it wasn't just a hospital room. It was like a veil had been pulled back. I saw these shadows. They didn't have faces, but they had intentions. They were leaning over the incubator. One of them had its hand, if you can call it that, pressed against the glass, right where my head was. It was trying to stop the machine. I could feel the cold coming off it. Then I saw the other ones. They were taller. They weren't glowing like cartoons, but they were solid, more solid than the walls. One of them just put a hand on the shadow's shoulder, and the shadow it didn't disappear. It just got pushed back, like it couldn't occupy the same space. They knew what was in the bean before the roast even started, he said. I looked back at him. My voice was a wreck. What? Why me? I'm just a guy who roasts coffee. I'm nobody. I'm just some guy in Oregon. He leaned in. I could feel the heat off him now. It was like standing next to the drum of the roaster when it's at 400 degrees, but it didn't singe my hair. It just made my skin feel alive. The enemy doesn't waste his best soldiers on people who aren't a threat, he said. He showed me the river next. I was 6. The Clackamas. My family was out at High Rocks. I remember the water being gray and moving too fast. I remember my foot getting stuck between 2 boulders under the surface. I remember the panic, that burning in your nose when you realize you aren't getting another breath. I'd always thought my dad just got lucky when he grabbed my hair and pulled me up. But in the vision, I saw it from the side. I saw the thing under the water. It wasn't a current, it was a grip. Something was holding my ankle down. It was deliberate. It wasn't an accident, it was a hit. He tried to drown the fire before it could spread, Jesus said. My stomach was doing somersaults. I keep trying to remember the exact sequence of how he said it, but it's like, it's all happening at once. I apologized to him. I told him I was sorry for being so messed up, for all the times I thought he was the one hitting me. He reached out. He didn't touch me, but I felt this weight on my shoulders. A good weight, like a heavy denim jacket. Caleb, he said, the warfare is the evidence. If you weren't carrying something dangerous, they would have left you alone a long time ago. I thought about the wreck on the bridge, 9 days ago. I thought about the car hitting me. Is that what the bridge was? I asked. He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me. I felt like he was reading the labels on every bag of my life. It's not punishment, he said. It's the press. You don't get the oil without the pressure. I wanted to ask more. I had a list of questions. I'd spent my whole life wondering why I was the one who always got the check engine light, why I was the one whose relationships always imploded, why I felt like I was walking through a headwind even on a calm day. But the forest started to shift. The green was getting brighter. No, it was getting deeper. I keep thinking about the NICU. I keep thinking about that shadow's hand on the glass. I never knew I was being hunted. I just thought I was unlucky. I have to stop. I need to check the cooling tray. Wait, no. I'm in my kitchen. I keep doing that. I keep thinking I have a batch to drop. I haven't been back to the shop since the bridge. I don't know if I can even stand the smell of the smoke right now. It reminds me too much of the heat. I'm sitting here looking at a bag of green beans, Sumatran, high moisture, and I can't even pick it up. My hands they don't want to grip. In the vision, or whatever you want to call it, Jesus asked me something else. He asked me why I always felt like a ghost in my own city. He didn't wait for me to answer. He just moved his hand, and it was like a projector screen opened up in the middle of the trees. I saw myself at 24. There was this house show in North Portland, one of those basements where the ceiling is leaking and the air is just sweat and cheap beer. I was there with people I'd known for years, people I wanted to be like, but I saw my own face in the memory. I looked like I was at a funeral. I remembered that night. I remembered the music starting and everyone leaning in, and I couldn't do it. It felt like the air in the room was turning into lead. My chest started getting tight, like I was trying to breathe through a wet towel. I walked out after 10 minutes. I stood on the sidewalk in the rain and I felt, I don't know. It was like I was grieving for something I hadn't even lost yet. You thought you were broken, Jesus said. I looked at him. I was pulling at the hem of my shirt. It's a habit. I do it when I'm nervous. I thought I was just a drag. My friends told me I was too intense. They said I was too much for the room. Jesus shook his head. He looked at the memory of me standing in the rain. It wasn't your personality, Caleb, it was the oil. You can't sit in rooms where the atmosphere is set against me and not feel the friction. That wasn't social anxiety, that was consecration. I stopped pulling at my shirt. Consecration? That sounds like something from an old hymn. I'm just a guy who likes old records and good espresso. It means you're set apart, he said. His voice it wasn't loud, but it had this weight, like the bass note in a song that you feel in your teeth. You tried to blend in, but you're a different chemical makeup. You're like a bean that's been processed differently. You can't go back into the batch. I thought about all the parties I'd left early, all the relationships that ended because I got too serious or because I couldn't just laugh at the things they laughed at. I always felt like a failure for it, like I was missing a piece of the social puzzle that everyone else had. Then the forest changed, or I did. I saw the shop, not the way it looks now with the boards over the windows. I saw it last year, August. I saw Mark. Mark was my business partner. We'd spent 3 years building the brand. We had the roast profiles dialed. We had the wholesale accounts coming in. I trusted him with everything. I gave him the keys to the accounts, the branding, the back end of the website, everything. In the vision, I saw him sitting in a dark office. He was on his laptop. I watched him, in real time but a year ago, exporting my client list. I watched him changing the passwords on the social media profiles we'd built together. I felt that same burn in my gut I felt the day I found out. It was like someone had reached inside and twisted my stomach. My ears started ringing. Why? I yelled. I wasn't talking to Mark. I was talking to Jesus. I treated him like a brother. I shared my bread with him. He took the dangerous brand and he cut me out of my own life. Jesus walked over to where the memory of Mark was. He didn't look at Mark with anger. He looked at the betrayal itself. Joseph's brothers just didn't hate his coat, Caleb. They hated the dream. They threw him in a pit because they couldn't stand the smell of the favor on him. I looked down at the grass. It didn't feel like favor. It felt like bankruptcy. It felt like being a joke. The enemy can't steal the anointing, Jesus said. He reached out and touched a leaf on a tree near us. It turned a deeper shade of green, almost vibrating. So he tries to wound the person carrying it. He wants you to become bitter. He wants you to lock your heart and never trust anyone again. Because a bitter man is a safe man for hell. He's no threat. I thought about the legal letters I've been trying to write for months. The ones I can't finish. Every time I sit down to deal with the lawsuit, my hands just stop. It built you, Jesus said. I looked at him, and for the first time I saw something in his eyes that looked like, I don't know, like he was remembering something. I was kissed by a friend in a garden, he said. The air around us got cold for a second. Just a second. I wasn't betrayed by my enemies. I was betrayed by the man who sat at my table. You had to feel that, Caleb. You had to be crushed so the oil could come out pure. You can't heal people from things you've never survived. I felt my eyes getting hot. I didn't want to cry. I hate crying. But I saw the pieces of my broken business, all the stuff Mark stole, the stolen profile, and it didn't look like a loss anymore. It looked like a harvest. I saw people I hadn't met yet. People in this city who have been stabbed in the back, people who are holding their breath, waiting for the next hit. I saw myself talking to them. I saw the weight of my own pain becoming a bridge for them. You're not just a roaster, Jesus said. You're a weapon, and weapons have to be tempered in the fire. I looked at my hands again. They weren't shaking in the forest, they were steady. But here, now, in the kitchen, I'm looking at the stack of legal documents from the lawyer. They're sitting on the counter next to my half-empty bag of Sumatran beans. I need to sign them. I need to move forward. But I keep seeing Mark's face, and I keep hearing that bass note in Jesus's voice. I haven't even opened the mail from yesterday. There's a letter from the landlord about the shop lease. I should open it, but I'm just staring at the copper kettle. I keep wondering what else he's going to show me, because the forest was getting darker, not scary dark, but the kind of dark where you realize you've been looking at the wrong things the whole time. The rain is hitting the skylight in my kitchen right now. It's that heavy, gray-bellied Portland rain. It sounds like someone is pouring a bucket of green beans onto a concrete floor, just this constant, hollow rattling. I'm sorry, I can't stop looking at the clock on the stove. It's 5:42. That's the time. That's the exact minute I hit the asphalt on the bridge. I keep waiting for the room to shake or for the tires to screech, but it's just the rain. In that forest place, the air started to get thick. It wasn't hard to breathe, but it felt heavy, like the airflow in the roaster when the dampener is closed. Jesus looked at me. He didn't say anything for a long time. He just let me feel the weight. Why do people react to you the way they do, Caleb? He asked. I looked at my shoes. They were dirty now. Real mud. I don't know. I always thought I was just off. People either want to tell me their whole life story at the bus stop, or they can't even look me in the eye. I walk into a coffee shop and the whole mood shifts. I figured I just had bad energy. Jesus took a step toward me. The ground didn't just hold him. It seemed to reach up to meet his feet. "It's not your energy," he said. "It's the oil. You carry a heaviness that people can't categorize. You walk into a room and the things hiding in people start to get restless. They feel the heat before you even speak." I felt this weird knot in my throat. I remembered this time, about 3 months ago at the grocery store on 28th. I was just standing in line looking at a box of cereal, and the woman in front of me just started sobbing. She turned around and told me her daughter had been missing for 2 days. I didn't even know her. I just stood there holding my oats, and I felt this ache in my chest that wasn't mine. "That's the frequency," Jesus said. He showed me a memory of a staff meeting at my old shop. I was sitting in the corner, we were talking about the holiday blend, but I saw the spiritual side of it. I saw the air in the room turning into this thick, swirling gray. One of the baristas was lying about something, the till, I think, and I watched the way the air around him curdled when I looked at him. I remembered feeling sick to my stomach that day. I'd blamed it on the breakfast burrito I'd eaten. "You weren't sick, Caleb, you were discerning," Jesus said. I wiped my face with my sleeve. "It's a lot. It's too much. I don't want to be the guy who makes people cry at the grocery store. I just want to roast coffee and have a normal life. I want to be able to go to a bar and not feel like I'm at a prayer vigil." Jesus didn't say I'm sorry. He didn't offer a way out. "The light doesn't ask for permission to shine," he said. "It just does. And it makes everyone who likes the dark very, very angry. You disrupt the comfortable, Caleb. That's why they call you intense. That's why they try to push you to the edges. You're a reminder of a standard they've spent a lot of money to forget." I looked at the stove clock again, 5:44 now. I survived that minute. I'm still here. But the forest, it started to flicker, like a film strip that's getting stuck in the projector. I saw these flashes of things. I saw a car wreck, not mine, a different one, a white SUV on I-84. I saw a fire in a building downtown that hasn't happened yet. I saw a face, a man I've never met, sitting in a basement holding a needle. I grabbed my head. What is this? Why am I seeing this? Jesus put his hand on my shoulder. It didn't feel like a hand. It felt like a mountain was leaning on me. "You've always seen the cracks, haven't you?" he asked. I swallowed. Hard. I get these feelings. I call them the glitches. I'll be roasting a batch and I'll just know the motor is about to seize, or I'll look at a friend and I'll see this shadow over their marriage. I thought I was just observant, or maybe just cynical. My ex-wife used to tell me I was looking for trouble. "You weren't looking for it," Jesus said. "You were being shown. I gave you eyes that see past the surface. You're a seer, Caleb. You see the pattern before the thread breaks." I started pacing in the grass. "I don't want it. It's heavy. It's like carrying around a bag of lead weights that I can't put down. I see people hurting and I see the lies they're telling themselves, and I can't unsee it. I don't give sight to make you feel special," he said. His voice was sharper now. Not mean, but firm, like the way a doctor tells you to hold still while they're cleaning a wound. "I give it so you'll act, so you'll pray, so you'll warn the people who are walking into the fire. The enemy wants you to doubt your gut. He wants you to think you're losing your mind, because if he can make you doubt what you see, he can keep doing his work in the dark. He's terrified of the ones who can see him coming." I looked at him, and for a second, I saw his eyes. Really saw them. They weren't blue or brown. They were like looking into the heart of the roaster, that glowing white-hot center where the gas meets the air. "You're not crazy," he said. "You're just awake, and most people are sleepwalking." I felt this vibration in my teeth. It was like I was standing too close to a massive speaker. "The dreams," I whispered. "The ones where I'm in a room and I can't find the door. The ones where I see the city underwater." Jesus nodded. "They aren't just dreams, they're intelligence. I'm showing you the battlefield. Stop apologizing for what you see. Start using it." The forest was starting to fade out now. The trees were turning into lines of light. I reached out to grab a branch, but my hand went right through it. I'm in the kitchen. The rain has stopped. It's just that dripping sound from the gutter now. plink, plink, plink. I need to go to the shop. I need to see if the boards are still on the windows. But I'm just sitting here looking at my notebook. I started writing down the face of the man with the needle. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he is. But I know I'm supposed to do something. I keep thinking about what Jesus said about the oil, how it makes people restless. I'm looking at the reflection of the stove light in the copper kettle. I look different. My eyes, they look like I haven't slept in a year, but there's something else there. I'm not just Caleb the roaster anymore. I don't know what I am, but I'm not that guy. I have to find that white SUV. I don't know how, but I feel like if I don't, something is going to break. That can't be fixed. I'm looking at my hand right now. It's pale. The hospital wristband is still on. They told me to leave it until the follow-up, but the plastic is digging into my skin. I'm sorry. I keep losing the thread. My head feels like it's full of cotton. In that forest place, the light started to change from that deep green to a kind of amber, like the color of the gas flame under the roasting drum when it's dialed in just right. Jesus was still standing there, but he looked different, more intense, like he was the source of the heat I was starting to feel. Caleb, he said, think about the last year, the bankruptcy, the betrayal, the nights you spent on the floor of the shop because you couldn't afford the heat in your apartment. I looked at the dirt by my feet. I didn't want to think about it. It was hell, I whispered. I thought you'd forgotten I existed, but I thought I'd made too many mistakes and you just let the fire have me. Jesus stepped closer. I could feel the warmth coming off his skin. It wasn't like a campfire. It was like a living pulse. In the roaster, he said, do you know why you have to bring the heat so high? I blinked. I wasn't expecting him to talk shop, because you have to get to the first crack. You have to force the moisture out so the bean can expand. If you don't get the heat high enough, the flavor stays locked inside. It just tastes like grass. It's useless. Jesus nodded. He didn't smile, but his eyes, they were like two coals. You've been in the first crack, Caleb. The fire wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to make you expand. It was burning away the chaff, the ego, the need for people to like you, the fear of being small. I had to let the heat get that high so the oil could finally surface. I thought about the night Mark stole the company. I remembered sitting in my dark kitchen, holding a bottle of cheap whiskey, wondering if I should just end it. I felt that same cold hollow in my chest. I almost didn't make it, I said. My voice was cracking. The heat, it was too much. No, Jesus said. I was the one watching the thermometer. I never let it get a degree higher than what you were built to hold. You survived it because you carry a dangerous anointing, and danger is only tempered in the flame. I looked up at him. Why me, though? Why does it have to be so hard for people like me? Why can't I just have a normal life and a normal business? He reached out. He didn't touch my face, but I felt a heat move across my cheek, like someone had opened a furnace door. Because the world is full of lukewarm people, he said. I'm looking for the ones who have been through the fire and didn't turn to ash. I'm looking for the ones who can walk into a room and make the darkness nervous because they've already seen the worst it can do and they're still standing. I felt my shoulders drop. For the first time in 32 years, I didn't feel like I was a mistake. I didn't feel like a bad batch. The bridge wasn't the end, Jesus said. The forest was starting to dissolve now. It was turning into white lines, then gray, then suddenly there was a sound. It was the most violent thing I've ever heard. It was the sound of my own lungs tearing open. Gasp. It felt like someone had shoved a hot iron down my throat. I couldn't move. My arms were tied down. I could hear machines beeping, clicking, whirring. He's back. He's fighting the tube. A woman's voice, high-pitched, scared. I opened my eyes. Everything was blurry, just fluorescent lights and white ceiling tiles. The smell, it was that sharp, chemical hospital smell. Legacy Emmanuel. I tried to reach for my throat to get the plastic out, but my wrists were strapped to the bed rails. I felt a panic rising, that same drowning feeling from the Clackamas River. Then I saw a hand. Not a doctor's hand. I saw a shadow in the corner of the room. It was the same one from the NICU. It was standing there, watching me. It looked furious. But then I felt it, that weight on my shoulders, that heavy denim jacket. I stopped fighting. I let my body go limp against the sheets. I looked at the shadow and I didn't feel afraid. I felt dangerous. The shadow backed away. It didn't disappear, it couldn't stay in the light of whatever was in the room with me. The doctor leaned over me. He had white hair and glasses that were slipping down his nose. "Caleb, you're okay. You're in the hospital. Your heart stopped for over 4 minutes. You're a miracle, son." I couldn't talk because of the tube, but I looked him right in the eyes. I wanted to tell him it wasn't a miracle. It was a mobilization. They moved me out of the ICU 3 days later. I've been home for 48 hours now. I'm sitting at my kitchen table. I have my bicycle helmet in front of me. The right side is melted and scraped. I'm running my thumb over the "Support Your Local Roaster" sticker. I have to go back to the shop tomorrow. The landlord called. He said he'd give me 1 more month to get the rent together before he clears out the equipment. I don't have the money. I don't even have a bike anymore. But I'm looking at the manual. I'm looking at my notebook. I'm not worried about the rent. I'm not worried about Mark. I'm thinking about the man with the needle. I'm thinking about the white SUV on I-84. I have to find them. My thumb is still moving over the melted plastic of the helmet, over and over. I can still feel the heat from the forest on my skin. It hasn't cooled down. I think the roast is just starting. There's a small detail in the police report from the Burnside Bridge that doesn't quite make sense. The driver of the sedan that hit Caleb claimed that for several seconds before the impact, his car wouldn't speed up. He said it felt like the engine was straining against an invisible wall, like the atmosphere had thickened into something physical. The report dismisses it as driver error or mechanical failure. But Caleb still hasn't touched the legal settlement papers. He hasn't called the insurance company back about the bike. He spends most of his time now sitting in that boarded up shop on MLK Boulevard, just staring at the temperature gauges on a machine that isn't even plugged in. He told a nurse at Legacy Emmanuel that he wasn't waiting for the power to come back on. He said he was waiting for the wind to change. Then he asked her if she owned a white SUV. The nurse didn't answer. She just finished checking his vitals and left the room, but the chart she left behind noted that Caleb's body temperature was running 4 degrees higher than it should have been, and it wasn't a fever. There's a specific kind of silence in that coffee shop now. It's the same silence you find on the Burnside Bridge right before the rain hits.